Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Francisco and welcome to the lesson number 6 of this intermediate level. Guys, in this class we're going to talk about all habits, and that's why we're going to use to here, okay? So we're going to make affirmative, negative, interrogative sentences, and obviously we're going to give the possible corresponding answers, okay? So guys, these are the 3 exercises that we're going to use because 4, 5, and 6 are going to be homework for you guys. Okay, so let's start with number 1. To do this exercise number 1, we have to pay attention to the clue words that we have. For example, in here, in this exercise, we have women's skirts. That's going to be the subject. And then we have the verb be, and then we have the complement, which is long and formal. Okay, those words are going to be used right here. Okay, try to do it first, and then you can compare your results. Okay. In the affirmative, I'm going to start with this. Women's skirts. Okay, las faldas de las mujeres. Women's skirts. Remember that this is not the plural. This is the possessive. Okay, ese es el posesivo que hacemos acá, no es el plural. Okay, women's skirts. After the subject, remember guys that the subject is the one that makes the action. Okay, women's skirts used to. Okay, used to. And after this, I'm going to use the verb that we have there, which is the verb to be in this case. So I'm going to write it here. Used to be, and the complement we say here, long and formal. This is going to be the affirmative sentence. You see? Very easy, my friends. Pacho, very easy, but how can we understand that? ¿Cómo podemos entender eso? That's a very good question. Remember, guys, las faldas de las mujeres, aquí vamos a decir, solían ser. Sí, es por eso que estamos utilizando el to be aquí. That's why we're using this. Solían ser, or you can also say, acostumbraban ser largas y formales, como esos tiempos que pasaron ya, que fueron muy agradables para muchos de ustedes. Okay? So, we used to be long and formal. Guys, now we're going to do this in its negative form. So let's do it, guys. So in this case, we say here, women's skirts. Okay? Remember that this is simple past. And we have one auxiliary here to use. What is the auxiliary that we have to use in this case for negative sentences in the past? Is did, guys. If you don't know or you don't remember how to use this auxiliary, this is a very nice class for you to watch, okay? The usage of did, okay? So, did. Guys, but this is negative. You can remember that you can say something like this. Women's skirts did not, or the other option would be the short form like this. Didn't, okay? This is very common. Women's skirts didn't what? Didn't use to. Didn't use to. Pacho, but you forgot to put the letter D here. Sí, la olvidé. I didn't forget it. Remember, guys, when you are using an auxiliary, in this case did, the verb has to be in its base form. Tiene que estar en su forma base, and that's why I cannot do this. In here, I put it because this is an affirmative sentence. So there is no auxiliary here. Okay? Women's skirts didn't use to. Didn't use to what? To be long and formal. Entonces aquí estamos ya haciendo la parte negativa, diciendo básicamente las faldas de las mujeres no solían o no acostumbraban ser largas y formales, ¿cierto? En caso de que tú vayas a hacer una negativa. Esto es para que variemos un poco todo esto. Now guys, let's continue with the question. To open the question, remember that in Spanish what we have to do is this. But in English, they don't have the symbols, yes, to open a question. And that's why we have to use an auxiliary or a WH question in this case. We're not going to have WH questions yet. And we're going to open the question with this auxiliary. This auxiliary represents this symbol in Spanish, okay? So that's why we're going to put it right there. Did. After this auxiliary, what we have to do is almost write the same affirmative, almost. And I say almost because of this. Pay attention, please. Did women's skirts. Did women's skirts. Okay? So I'm doing the same. Let's continue with this. Used to. Remember, in here I'm using this, the letter D, but in here I'm not using it because I said or I used this auxiliary did. Insisto en eso, muchachos. ¿Por qué? Porque es la parte que más tienden a confundirse los estudiantes. ¿Listo? Tengan muy presente que después de auxiliar vamos a colocar el used to en su forma base como está aquí y acá. ¿Sí? Ok. Let's continue, my friends. The women's skirts used to what? Used to be long and formal. Okay, that's gonna be the complement. Long and formal. Guys, this is a question, so remember to put the question mark at the end. We use it at the end here, but not at the beginning. And if this is a question, try to raise your intonation like this. Try to raise your intonation, guys. So, we're going to say, did women's skirts used to be long and formal? Long and formal. Try to connect this, okay? Long and formal. This is a very good way to make and to pronounce the questions. So guys, in this case, we have here an affirmative answer. And for an affirmative answer, I can only say yes, for example. That's very nice. That is not too polite. So we're going to add some more. Yes, you can say yes, they did. Okay? Why they? Because I'm talking about women's skirts, las faldas de las mujeres. Entonces estamos hablando de ellas. Recuerde que hay personas que de pronto piensan que es por ser una cosa, simplemente va a ir it. Pero esto es cuando es singular y no el plural como en este caso. Okay? Yes, they did. This is a very good option. Or the other way to do it is because you can also say yes, that's right. Okay? Yes, that's right. This is one option, guys. Y eso es correcto. Okay? Very easy, number one. ¿Cómo vieron ese número uno? Let's continue with number two, my friends. For number two, in the affirmative form, we're going to use these clue words. In this case, we're talking about men, yes, the verb have, and the complement, which is long hair. So, we're going to say, los hombres solían tener cabello largo, ¿cierto? Eso pasaba demasiado en esa época. Entonces, ¿cómo lo haríamos juntos acá? We say here, men, and then what? And then used to. So, we're going to write it here. Used to what? To have, this is the verb, as we did it here, to have, and the complement, long hair. Pacho, la hice muy bien. Congratulations, because that's the idea, my friends. La idea, muchachos. Very easy, this sentence. Okay? So, let's do it in a negative form. So, we say here, man. Remember that I have to use this auxiliary. So, I say here, didn't. Man didn't. Didn't what? Didn't use to. Remember the letter D doesn't go here. Used to have long hair. Very easy. Very easy, the negative sentence. Now, guys, pay attention to these questions that we have here. This is a question, but with affirmative sense, con sentido afirmativo, and this is a question with negative sense. If you're going to open a question with affirmative sense, so we have to open the question with this auxiliary did, okay? But if you're going to do it with negative sense, just open it with didn't, okay? Didn't. Did for affirmative, didn't for negative. Así es que la vamos a abrir. Mire cómo lo trabajamos acá porque era afirmativa. Now, guys, after this, remember that we write almost the same affirmative sentence. In this case, we say, did man, okay, did man or didn't man used to, I'm going to write it in red color, used to have long hair, okay? This is a question, no? Question mark at the end, and raise your intonation. So, we can say, did men used to have long hair? Did men used to have long hair? The negative. Didn't men used to have long hair? Very easy. Pacho, ¿cómo podríamos entender esa pregunta negativa? Sí, entonces, básicamente, si la hacemos afirmativa, decimos, ¿los hombres solían tener cabello largo? Sí, mire que es pregunta afirmativa. Y aquí en la negativa sería, ¿los hombres no solían tener cabello largo? Sí, o no solían los hombres tener cabello largo. Mire que ahí están las opciones, ¿ok? So, guys, the answer here is negative. So, we're going to say no, ¿cierto? Pues, no es verdad en este caso, pero es para hacer el ejercicio. Importa, la idea es practicar. No what? No, they didn't. This is gonna be the short form, one option. No, they didn't, because in here we're talking about the man. Estamos hablando de los hombres, and that's why we have they here. No, they didn't. Or the other option is the opposite of this. You can say, no, that's wrong. Okay, no, that's wrong. Okay, so guys, remember that if you want to add some more information, you can also give arguments with what we saw in the previous class, which is because, as, since, and for, to give arguments. You can say, so, for example, something like this. No, they didn't. Because, or no, they didn't. Since, or no, they didn't. As, okay, you can give an argument, any argument to complement this part, okay? So, I hope you're doing this very well, and we're going to continue with number 3. Look at the words that we have, guys. Children, the subject, that we have the verb dress, and like adults, the complement. So we're going to say que los niños, vamos a decir eso, los niños solían vestirse como adultos. Try to do it with me, please. So we say here, children, children, children what? Used to, okay, used to what? Dress, this is going to be the verb, dress, and the complement like adults. Chachos, eso está tan fácil, muy fácil. So try to do the negative here. So we say here, children. What is the auxiliary that we're going to use? So in this case is didn't. Very easy. Didn't what? Didn't use to dress like adults. Very easy, this negative sentence, okay? Now guys, the interrogative with negative sense, only negative sense. So in this case, I have to open the question with didn't, okay? So we say here, didn't what? Didn't children, and then used to, okay? Used to what? To dress like adults, okay? Guys, this is a question, so remember to raise your intonation once more. Didn't children used to dress like adults? ¿Sí? ¿No solían los niños vestirse como adultos? ¿Sí? That's the question that we have here. Now, guys, this is the affirmative answer, so I'm going to, yes, they did. Aquí estamos utilizando casi para todas o para todas estamos utilizando they porque se da la oportunidad, pero si ven que es para él o ella, he, she, it, tengan mucho cuidado con eso, okay? Yes, they did, or you can also say, yes, that's right, okay? If you want to use this option, okay? Sí, es correcto. Okay, guys, exercise 4, 5, and 6 is going to be the homework for you to do it at home, to practice all this. And please try to do it in this form that we have right here with the negative answer, affirmative, and affirmative answer too, according to the sentences that I'm going to give you and the pictures. For example, look at this number 4. And here we have women and men. Okay, women and men, what? The verb dance at formal balls. Entonces ahí tenemos las palabras claves. Pacho, pero formal balls, como pelotas formales, pareciera. Pero balls no solamente es pelotas, ¿sí? O bolas, sino en este caso es baile, como bailes formales, que solía mucho pasar eso. Entonces, vamos a decir esa oración, que los hombres y las mujeres solían bailar en esos bailes formales. ¿Listo? That's going to be number 4. Okay, guys, look at this number 5. We have here women. Women, the verb wear, usar, vestir, wear. And then we have petticoats under their skirts. Petticoats, what is that? ¿Qué es eso de petticoats? ¿Qué entienden según la imagen? Es como las enaguas. Bueno, aquí en Colombia se les dice enaguas, no sé en sus países cómo les diga. Entonces vamos a decir esta oración, por favor, y vamos a hacerla en estas formas que está aquí, ¿ok? And finally, guys, number 6, men. Carry, the verb, cargar, ¿cierto? Carry. We say here walking sticks, but you can also say walking canes. Okay? So try to do this number 6 and these forms that we have right here. So guys, I hope you like this class. Take a screenshot of the board because it's going to help you a lot in the future, and try to practice, guys. If you want to compare your results, this homework, just click here and you can see the results. Si pueden hacer clic en este enlacecito y van a poder ver los resultados. Espero que les haya gustado mucho esta clase. No olviden suscribirse al canal si no lo han hecho y compartir este curso con muchas otras más personas. ¿Ok? So my friends, see you next class. Bye bye. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Francisco and welcome to the lesson number 7 of this intermediate level. In this class, we'll continue with use 2 and we're going to add some WH questions in this class, okay? So, remember guys that we have seen a lot of WH questions and these probably are going to be familiar for you, and this is the structure that we're going to follow if we want to make object questions, are we going to do right here. Remember that the structure for subject question is different. So I want you to watch this class if you have doubts about subject and object questions, okay? So guys, in here we have 5 different sentences and the answers for the questions. These are not the questions because we are the ones that are going to create the question right here, okay? So guys, before starting this, we have to know the answer and to check if the answer is correct or not. If you have some mistakes, we have to correct them first. So let's read it together. Look at this number 1. She used to wear a jacket, a scarf, and a mittens when she lives in Canada. So do you see this correct? So do you see any mistake here? Pause the video, analyze it. And if you see the mistake, try to identify it with me, please. So, for example, in this part, we have a mistake. So in these words that we have here, there's one mistake. So can you see it? Yes, the mistake here is this article here, the article A. Why? Because in here we have a plural noun. And in this case, when we have plural, this is not possible because this is used for singular. As we did it here, a jacket, a scarf, and a mittens. It sounds weird, okay? So this is not possible. So the sentence would be without this letter E. Sorry. Now, let's continue with this. When she lives in Canada, do you see any mistake there? Pacho, I don't see any mistake because this is the correct option when we're talking about she. It could be an option. It could be a very good argument. But in this case, that is not possible. Why? Because remember, guys, that when we are using uses to, it is because something happened in the past and is not happening anymore in the present tense. So this is not possible to use the simple present here, and I have to use this verb in a simple past like this. She lived in Canada, okay? So these are the 2 mistakes that we found in the sentence number 1. Guys, now that this answer is correct, we're going to think about the question. So pay attention to the answer again. Ella solía usar una chaqueta, una bufanda y guantecitos, ¿cierto? Unos mittens when she lived in Canada, cuando vivió en Canadá. Entonces, la pregunta, ¿cuál va a ser? ¿Qué solía ella usar? ¿Qué? So, if I want to say that, I have to choose one of these WH questions that we have right here. So, which one would you choose? Which one? In this case, this is the option that I have for making the question. Pacho, why does that have a star key right here? Well, that's a very good question because remember that with what and who, you can make subject questions, and that's the class that I want you to watch, please. So, I'm going to start with this what, okay? So, I'm going to start the structure like this with WH question. Then what? Then I have to use this auxiliary because it is the auxiliary that we have to use in the past. And then the subject is what follows the sentence, the structure. What is the subject here? What is the subject? Remember, guys, that the subject is the one that makes the action. And in here, this is the subject. She is the subject. She is making the action. So I'm going to write it here. What did she? Yes, what did she? And then I have to use this. Use to. Okay, so I'm going to write it. What did she use to? And the verb base, okay, in its base form. In this case, I'm talking about the verb wear. So I'm going to write it here. Okay, what did she use to wear? Yes, this is going to be a good question. If you want to add some more, for example, the final part that we have here, you can do it. And it sounds very, very nice. Okay, what did she use to wear when she lived in Canada? Okay, when she lived in Canada, that's going to be the question that we can do to have this answer here. What did she used to wear when she lived in Canada? She used to wear a jacket, a scarf, and mittens when she lived in Canada. ¿Cómo la vieron, muchachos? Ahí está entonces una de las posibles preguntas que podríamos trabajar de acuerdo a eso. Recuerde que la pregunta depende de lo que usted quiera saber. ¿Listo? Ahí está entonces la número 1, muchachos. Okay, guys, let's continue with number 2. For number 2, we have also the answer, and we have to know the answer to create the question. Look at this. We use to pluck. What is the meaning of this verb? Pluck. Pluck means arrancar. Eso significa pluck. This is a regular verb. We use to pluck the fruits from the trees on the afternoon wings 5 o'clock. Okay? Can you spot the mistakes? Can you identify them? ¿Pueden identificar los errores que tenemos aquí? ¿Sí? Pausen el video. Pause the video and analyze it, please. Okay. In the first place, we have here one mistake because this is not the correct preposition, because in here we're talking about a part of the day, so the afternoon. In this case, on is not possible. Which one would you choose? In, on, or at? Well, we know that on is not possible, so in this case is in the afternoon. For parts of the day, we use this preposition. Remember that, guys. If you have some doubts about it, I can recommend you to watch this class, please. Okay, this is going to help you a lot. In the afternoon, pay attention to this. Well, this is not very common, but I do it because sometimes I see it. Sí, lo hago porque, bueno, no es muy común, pero lo he visto en algunas ocasiones. Que a veces nuestro español, voy a abrir un paréntesis, a veces nuestro español nos afecta un poco la parte del inglés, porque como vamos al traductor y nuestro español no está como bien, en algunas ocasiones nos equivocamos, entonces también va a pasar mucho. ¿Qué queríamos decir acá? A las 5 de la tarde. Yo he visto algunos estudiantes que colocan este wings porque buscan es así, alas. ¿Sí? Este wings son alas de volar, wings. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que nos está afectando? Que para decir a las 5 lo tenemos es que separar a las 5 y ahí sí tendríamos la traducción correcta, ¿ok? Tengan mucho cuidado con eso, muchachos. So, I'm going to close the parenthesis here. So, in the afternoon, which is the correct preposition here? In, on, at. Which one? In this case is at 5 o'clock. This is the preposition to talk about time. Esa es la que vamos a utilizar para esa parte de tiempo. Now, guys, the answer of number 2 is correct. Now we have to think about the question. So, we have this information. Solíamos arrancar las frutas de los árboles en la tarde a las 5. So, estamos hablando como de tiempo. So, which is the WH question that we're going to use to talk about time, guys? In this case, I can use when, for example. So I'm going to start with this one. When, this is the WH question. Then I follow with the auxiliary did, okay? When did. In this case, the subject. So the subject could be we, yes? Could be this one. But this is not very common because we don't normally ask questions to ourselves, but we can do it too. In this case, I prefer to ask the question with you, okay? Puedo hacer o prefiero preguntar con ustedes, porque no normalmente nos preguntamos nosotros mismos, okay? When did you, okay, this is an option here. When did you what? When did you used to? Remember that this is what we have to write here next, okay? When did you use to? Verb in its space form, and now the verb is pluck, okay? I'm going to write it here. El verbo arrancar. When do you use to pluck the fruits? The fruits from the trees? That's going to be the question here. From the trees. And then the question mark. Entonces, ¿cuándo solías tú, si utilizamos cuándo solías tú o solían ustedes arrancar las frutas de los árboles? ¿O cuándo solíamos nosotros, si te quieres autopreguntar, arrancar las frutas de los árboles? Entonces, ahí está. We say here. We used to pluck the fruits from the trees in the afternoon at 5 o'clock. Vamos progresando con todo esto, muchachos. A veces mucha información, but we have to practice. Remember that that's very important. Okay, guys, look at this number 3. Let's read the answer. I used to spend a lot of money since I live in a very expensive city. Can you spot the mistakes? Can you identify them? In here, we have the first mistake. Look at this. Used to, remember that it goes with the letter D, okay? You can use it like this without the letter D, but in different occasions, okay? Some other cases. I used to spend a lot of money since I live in a very expensive city. Remember that we've talked about this before, and in here we have the same and we have here. So it's not possible to have the present here because remember that this is something to talk about the past, something that is not happening or doesn't happen here in the present. So I have to use the letter D here. Since I lived in a very expensive city. So let's identify, let's understand this. Yo solía gastar mucho dinero porque vivía o ya que yo vivía en una ciudad muy costosa. Okay? Now, guys, we have this word because we're giving an argument. Okay? Something that we saw in the previous classes, guys. Now, the correct W question that we have to use here is why. Okay? We're going to follow the structure. Why? And then what? Did again. Why did? Yes? The subject. Okay, if you want to make a self question, you can use the same pronoun. Okay? Pueden utilizar ese mismo si se quieren hacer una autopregunta. But it's not very common. So I prefer to use you in this case. Why did you what? Use to, and then what? The verb in its space form. In this case, we're talking about the verb spend, que es gastar. To spend a lot of money. Yes, a lot of money. So this is going to be the question here in number 3. ¿Por qué solías gastar tanto dinero? And the answer is, I used to spend a lot of money since I lived in a very expensive city. Remember that this is to argue a sentence, para dar un argumento de una oración. Look at this, number 4, guys. Mike used to play the piano quite well. So, do you see any mistake there? Can you identify them? No, guys, in here we don't have mistakes. It's correct here. And we have to make the question. But to make the question, remember that we have to know or to identify the sense of the answer. Mike solía tocar el piano bastante bien. Remember these intensifiers, and this is going to be a very nice class for you to watch too. Esto también nos va a recordar muchas cositas esta clase. Okay? So guys, in this case, I can use this question that we have here. Okay? How well? Okay? How well? What is the meaning of that? Aquí estamos hablando de que tan bien. Remember that this is an adverb. How well what? Did, yes, did, and then we have the subject. In this case, the subject is Mike, okay? How well did Mike, and then what? Used to play the piano, okay? This is going to be the final part of the answer. Play the piano, okay? So this is going to be the question. How well did Mike used to play the piano? Que tan bien solía Mike tocar el piano? And here the answer. Mike used to play the piano quite well. Que eso es bastante bien. Eso es un intensificador de este adverbio que tenemos acá. Entonces ahí lo estamos trabajando de esa manera, muchachos. Now guys, look at this final part. In this case, I don't have the question, but you're gonna do it. This is a homework for you guys. Now pay attention to this. Those kids used to take off his shoes on the door. On the door. This is not possible here. This is one of the mistakes because we say at the doors, que se quitaban los zapatos en la puerta, pero es al lado de la puerta. You can also say next to or by the door. You can say that. Those are the possible prepositions. But there is one more mistake here. Which one? So, what is it? In here, we're talking about his, but we're talking about those kids, and it's not possible. So in here, if I'm talking about those kids, so I have to use the positive adjective, which is there. So those kids used to take off their shoes at the door. Entonces, esos chicos solían quitarse, este es el verbo, es un phrasal verb, quitarse sus zapatos en la puerta. Bueno, aquí la tarea es ¿cuál? Ustedes pueden preguntar dos cosas. Eso lo voy a decir en español para que quede muy claro. Quiero que por favor pregunten quiénes se solían quitar los zapatos en la puerta. Eso es una pregunta ¿qué? una pregunta sujeto. Y si tienen dudas, esta es una clase de apoyo más para todos ustedes. Traten, por favor, de hacer esa pregunta y mirar cómo la estructurarían. Eso lo pueden hacer en los comentarios. So guys, take a screenshot of all this information that's going to help you a lot in the future. And please share this class with many other people and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Espero que les haya gustado mucho, muchachos. And see you next class. Bye bye. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Francisco, and welcome to the lesson number 8 of this intermediate level. I want to say hello to Marco Valerdi, who has been studying a lot with me in the course. A greeting for you, Marco, and I hope this class is very helpful for you too. Guys, in this class, we're going to continue talking about used to, but this is going to be a different expression that we have, which is there used to be. We're going to make sentences in affirmative, negative, and interrogative form with the possible answer that we might have according to the sentence. There used to be means in Spanish, solía haber. This is what it means in Spanish. Take note of this, please. And this is something important to take into account because we use there used to be when we want to talk about indefinite period of time. Something that existed in the past and is not in the present anymore. Okay? So take note of this. Entonces ya saben que vamos a utilizar solía haber para hablar de un periodo de tiempo en el pasado, algo que solía existir en el pasado por un periodo de tiempo, pero ya no está más en el presente. Okay? Take note of this, guys, please. We have some adverbs of time here because they are going to help us a lot to talk about indefinite period of times. Long time ago and long ago are the same, and these are indefinite period of time adverbs. Why? Because we cannot specify the date here. We don't know the specific date. O tú sabes la fecha específica de cuánto es hace mucho tiempo. Hace mucho tiempo es un periodo de tiempo indefinido en el pasado, ¿sí? Y es básicamente un periodo de tiempo largo, atrás, muy atrás. No se sabe cuánto tiempo es en una fecha especial. And the same happens here when we say a few years ago. Hace unos cuantos años, no se sabe específicamente cuántos, hace unos cuantos años. In here we have some start keys because you can replace a few. You can say, for example, some years ago. You can also say many years ago. Or you can also change years by, for example, months or weeks. A few weeks ago, some weeks ago, some months ago. You can do whatever you want here with this expression. In the past could be also one adverb of time to talk about indefinite period of time, guys. These are some quantifiers that we can have in the sentences, and I want you to please watch this class because it is going to help you a lot to complement your process. Okay? So, we're going to start with the exercise number 1 in the affirmative form. To do this exercise number 1, I want you to please take a look at the picture that we have. Look at this. This is a condo. It's an almost empty condo. And the sentence that we're going to do with this picture is this one. Solía haber muchos carros en este condominio. That's the sentence that we're going to do together. Or try to do it first and then you can compare your results. Guys, to do this, I have to start the sentence with the expression that we have here, which is there used to be. So I'm going to write it here. There used to be, yes, there used to be, solía haber muchos carros en este condominio. That's going to be the complement. Many cars. And this, you can say condominium. You can use it. That this is very common, which is condo. Okay? That's a very, very nice word. There used to be many cars in this condo. Solía haber muchos carros en este condominio. This is a possible sentence, guys. But if you want to add some more information, you can use these adverbs. For example, you can say, long time ago, there used to be many cars in this condo. Okay? You can use the adverb at the beginning of the sentence, or you can also use it at the end when we're saying an affirmative or a negative sentence. For example, you can say, there used to be many cars in this condo long time ago. It could be one option. Okay? But you can also say, long time ago, there used to be many cars in this condo. Okay? So it's up to you guys. Now let's do the negative sentence. For the negative sentence, we have to use one auxiliary, and pay attention how we're going to use it. In the negative sentence, we say there what? There didn't. This is the auxiliary of the past, and I have to do it in its negative form, and we say there didn't what? There didn't used to be as many cars in this condo. The same complement. Many cars and this condo. That's going to be the complement of the negative sentence. Guys, pay attention to this, please. Probably you might find that people use or make the question like this. Or the sentence like this. There didn't used to be many cars in this condo. Okay, grammatically this is not correct because in here we have this auxiliary, and when we have this auxiliary, we have to put the verb in its base form. So it wouldn't be possible. But guys, some people accept that, and this is possible, but it's not grammatically correct. Okay? So try to be tolerant with this. Traten de ser muy tolerante con esto porque podrían encontrar oraciones negativas e interrogativas cuando se utiliza el auxiliar y el use con la D al final. ¿Sí? Pero ya saben que gramaticalmente no sería correcto porque estamos utilizando eso. Pequeño paréntesis ahí. There didn't used to be many cars in this condo long ago or a few years ago. Or you can also say in the past, there didn't used to be many cars in this condo. Okay, that's going to be the sentence in its negative form. Now guys, to do the interrogative sentence, we have to make almost the same affirmative sentence that we have here. But remember that we have to use this auxiliary did, and we have to put it in the first place. So we moved it here. So we say here, did there used to be, and the same complement that we have, which is many cars in this condo. Remember guys, this is a question, so we have to put the question mark and to raise our intonation. So we say, did there used to be many cars in this condo? Okay, ¿solía haber muchos carros en este condominio? Sí, mire que es la pregunta que tenemos que hacer acá. Guys, pay attention please. If you want to use this adverb of time in the question, it wouldn't be possible or it wouldn't be correct if we use this adverb at the beginning, okay? It wouldn't be correct, for example, if I say, long time ago, did there used to be many cars in this condo? It wouldn't be correct. Entonces no sería correcto colocar un adverbio de estos al principio. Entonces lo que hacemos es tirarlo hacia el final. We put it at the end. In this case, we could say, for example, did there used to be many cars in this condo a long time ago, or in the past, or a few years ago? But at the end, guys, remember that, please. It's very, very important. Remember that you can also do this as an interrogative for it with negative sense. Didn't, okay, didn't there used to be many cars in this condo? No solía haber muchos carros en este condominio, en su forma interrogativa con sentido negativo. Podría ser una opción, ahí está, muchachos. ¿Cómo la ven? Espero que vayan muy bien. Now guys, if we want to make the answers, for example, you can say yes, that could be one option, or you can also add more information like this. Yes, there used to be many cars in this condo. That could be one option. You can do this in a short form like this. Yes, there did. That would be the short form of answering this question. Or the other possible option would be no, there didn't. Okay, no, there didn't. The short form in the answer. Now, if you want to add some more information in this negative form, you can say no, there didn't used to be many cars in this condo. It's up to you to give all these answers, guys. Pero que vamos muy bien con este ejercicio 1 y vamos a hacer algunos diferentes en el 2 y en el 3. ¿Cómo vamos? Espero que súper bien. Look at this number 2, guys. It's going to be a question according to what? According to this picture that we have right here. Look at this. This is the question that we're going to make. ¿Cuánta comida solía haber en estos estantes? Try to do it first. Remember that in here we have to pay attention to the usage of how many or how much, and if you have doubts about it, just watch this class. Is going to be very important for you. In this case, we're going to say what? How many or how much? In this case is how much. How much what? How much food. Okay? That's going to be the starting of the question. And then what? And then remember that we have to follow the structure that we followed here. How much food did there used to be on these shelves? On these shelves. That's gonna be the complement. Okay, sobre estos estantes. Okay, how much food did there used to be on these shelves? Guys, remember that you can find the question like this with the letter D. Is possible. Yes, but it's not grammatically correct. You can find it like this too in this part. But this wouldn't be correct because we're using these auxiliaries. Okay, so it's up to you if you're gonna use it or not. How much food did there used to be on these shelves? How much? Okay, let's get the possible answer. Solía haber mucha comida. So, how do you do this? In this case, we say here, there used to be mucha comida. That's why we have to use these quantifiers, and we're going to use a lot of as a quantifier. A lot of what? A lot of food. That's gonna be the answer, guys. There used to be a lot of food. A lot of food, or you can also say there used to be a lot of food on these shelves. Solía haber mucha comida o mucha comida sobre esos estantes. It's up to you guys. What do you think about this number 2? Okay, espero que lo hayan hecho muy bien. Look at this number 3, guys. This is a question that we're going to make according to this picture that we have. And the question is, ¿cuántos niños solía haber en este parque? Try to do it with me, please. In this case, we're going to start the question with what? How many or how much? Which one do you think? In this case is how many, okay? How many? How many what? How many children? Okay, remember guys that it's not children's. It's not possible here, the letter S, because in here this is an irregular plural and children is the plural. How many children? Then what? Did there used to be, we follow the same structure. Did there used to be in this playground? Okay, in this playground. That's gonna be the final part of this question. Playground is this. Eso es como un parque infantil para los niños, playground. How many children did there used to be in this playground? Okay, now we're going to give the answer. And the answer would be, solía haber cientos de niños jugando en este parque infantil. So remember guys that you have to use one of these quantifiers, and I'm not going to do this answer. You are the one who's going to answer this number 3. Tú vas a responder esa número 3. Espero que les haya gustado entonces mucho esta clase y que practiquen un poco más. Remember to make a screenshot of all this because it's going to help you a lot in your process. Te voy a servir mucho si hacen un capture. Ahí está toda la información para ustedes. Recuerden que practicar es muy importante y si van a practicar, les voy a dejar acá en esta opción el enlace para que hagan una práctica digital que les va a servir. En la descripción también lo van a encontrar y en el primer comentario también fijado lo van a poder hacer. ¿Ok? Muchachos, no olviden compartir este curso con muchas más personas y espero que les haya gustado mucho esta clase. ¿Ok? So my friends, bye bye and see you next class. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Francisco and welcome to the lesson number 9 of this intermediate level. Guys, I hope you practice with the exercises that I left in the previous lesson and that you're ready to take this other class about there used to be, but now with the difference between there was and there were, which is a topic that we saw in the basic level. And if you haven't seen this class or you don't remember anything of these two expressions, this is the class that you should watch to understand much better this class, okay? Now guys, there used to be is going to be used when we have a subject in singular or plural. But when we're talking about there was and there were, it's going to be different. Why? Because if you have the subject in singular, so you have to use there was, and if you have a subject in plural, so you have to use there were. These are some other differences of these two topics and some directions that are going to be very important for you to take into account. So I'll take note of this. And we're going to analyze them with these 4 exercises here. Now, we're going to start with this number 1. And this is going to be the picture for you to have the context. Guys, the context is going to be very, very important for you to understand and to decide whether to use one word or another. In this case, whether to use there used to be, there was, and there were. Okay? So, this picture that we have here represents just a very sad part of the history of Colombia, because in 1985, in this town, which is called Armero, there was a tragedy where many people, including Omaira and many others, died. It was something really, really sad for our country. And well, I don't know if you heard about this on the news, and that's why we have the exercise number 1. There used to be many people in this town some years ago. Solía haber muchas personas en este pueblo hace muchos años. Pay attention to the context, guys. When we use there used to be here, we're talking about something that existed in the past, is not in the present, and wouldn't be in the future either. Pay attention to this. And now what? We have an emphasis on the length in time, the duration of the town and the situation that happened at that time. And in here we have indefinite period of time because we're talking about some years ago, and we talked about this in a previous class. Okay? Now, what do we have to do here? In this case, we have to complete the sentences by using there was and there were. Which one would you choose here? According to the subject that we have, which is many people. In this case is there were. Pacho, why? Because we're talking about many people. Many people is plural. And if it's plural, so I have to use there were. There were many people in this town some years ago. Guys, pay attention to this, please. When we use there was or there were, for example, in this case that we use this, we're talking about something that existed in the past and could exist again. There's an open possibility for something to exist in the future. But in here it's totally different. Something that existed in the past and it's still in the past, not in the present or wouldn't be in the future. Les tengan mucho cuidado con esas diferencias. Algo que existió en el pasado, sí, pero que podría existir otra vez, pero aquí simplemente se quedó en el pasado. That's a big difference. Guys, in here we're making emphasis on the length in time. With the where, we're not making any kind of emphasis on the length in time. And we can have indefinite period of time or definite period of time. This star key that we have here, it is because it tends to be pretty much with definite period of time. Okay, we use it most of the time with definite period of time, but you can use it with this one too. That's why we have some years ago, yes, which is indefinite period of time, or you can also talk about 34 years ago, which is a definite period of time. Why 34 years ago? Because at the moment of recording this class, we are in 2019, so it was 34 years ago. So guys, very important to take into account this. But according to the context that we have, these sentences wouldn't be very correct at all. Why not? Because in here we're talking about something that existed in the past and wouldn't be present or wouldn't be in the future anymore. Pacho, pero es que la tragedia puede pasar otra vez. Guys, it wouldn't be the same tragedy because in that town there are no people living. That's why it wouldn't happen again. Let's continue with number 2, guys, and this is going to be the context. Analyze it, please. There used to be a cat on the roof every morning. When I say this, it is because something that existed in the past and is not present. I don't know if the cat died or the cat is living in a different house. I don't know. We're talking about emphasis on the length in time when we say every morning, indefinite period of time too. But now that we have to adapt this sentence into a there was and there were sentence, we have to analyze it. So, in this case, we're talking about a cat. So, it's singular. In this case, would be there was the correct option here. There was a cat on the roof every morning. But pay attention because when we say every morning, it sounds weird. Even in Spanish, it sounds weird too. Look at this. Había un gato en el techo cada mañana. Había un gato en el techo cada mañana. It doesn't make a clear sense. That's why I wouldn't use the same period of time that I use here every morning, and I had to adapt it with this one, for example, this morning. There was a cat on the roof this morning. Había un gato en el techo esta mañana. Something that happened in the past and could exist in the future, because probably later, tomorrow or next week, the cat will be on the roof again. Okay? Something that existed in the past and could exist again. Espero que vamos muy bien, muchachos, entendiendo estas diferencias. Recuerde que podrían tener varias posibilidades, pero el contexto es fundamental and your attention is fundamental too. Look at this exercise number 3, and this is the context, guys. Did there used to be dinosaurs in this forest? Okay, we're talking about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs won't exist anymore. They existed in the past, not in the present. That's why I can use there used to be with no problems. We're talking about the emphasis on in time. And in here in the sentence that we don't have a period of time, but it doesn't matter, okay? So we don't have problems with this. Now we're going to adapt this sentence into a there was and there were sentence. Guys, we're talking about dinosaurs, which is the correct option here. And here is there were. But I can write there were here. I have to adapt it. In this case, as this is a question, so I have to move where to the beginning. Were there dinosaurs in this forest? That's a very correct sentence. But according to the context in itself, this wouldn't be used here. Okay? Esto no sería utilizado en esta forma. Una oración correcta. Había dinosaurios en esta selva. Cuando lo utilizamos de esta manera, básicamente estamos hablando de que los dinosaurios estaban ahorita y que más tarde podrían volver, ¿sí? Pero como no es así, básicamente la tendencia es a utilizar there used to be porque se quedaron en el pasado y ya, no van a volver a aparecer. Bueno, uno que va a saber, pero es muy raro que eso suceda. ¿Listo? Entonces básicamente nos vamos a ir por la lógica, ¿ok? Now guys, let's continue with number 4. A few years ago, there didn't used to be so many teachers at this university that we have right here, which is the context. And pay attention to the number 4 here. A few years ago, what is the correct answer here? If we're talking about so many teachers, in this case is there what? There was or there were? It would be there were, guys, because we're talking about many teachers. It's plural, but this is a negative sentence, so I have to put it in a negative form too. So you can use it like this. There were not, or you can also do this in the short form like this. There weren't so many teachers at this university. Guys, both options are correct. It depends on the context. Entonces, ahí podrían ser las dos adaptadas, depende como de la intención como tal. Aquí hablamos de que hace mucho tiempo no existían tantos profesores, no solía haber tantos profesores como lo hay ahora, ¿sí? Hablando como de esa pequeña diferencia. Y aquí estamos hablando de hace unos cuantos años no habían tantos profesores en la universidad. Parecen muy similares, pero acá estamos haciendo el énfasis en el tiempo, aquí de algo que existió en el pasado y que podría existir, y acá algo que existió en el pasado y ya no está más. Entonces, básicamente es para que ustedes analicen estas oraciones. Espero que les haya gustado mucho esta clase, que practiquen con otros ejercicios que les voy a dejar, porque esto es cuestión de práctica. Esta será otra clase recomendada. El uso de there is, there are también en presente les va a ayudar muchísimo. Y bueno, muchachos, seguimos con esta sopita, incluyéndole muchas cosas. Espero que les haya gustado. Y bueno, no olviden compartir esta clase y este canal con muchas otras personas. So my friends, I hope you like this class and see you next class. Bye bye. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Francisco and welcome to the lesson number 10 of this intermediate level. Guys, in this class we're going to make a writing exercise by translating from Spanish to English. It's going to be very interesting and I'm very sure you can do everything, okay? Because we've learned so many things throughout this intermediate level. Guys, this is going to be the first paragraph. If it's not the moment for you to do this exercise, just leave the video for later and then you can do it at home probably when you relax. So, the paragraph number 1, if you want to start by doing it, just try to pause the video, write it down, and continue. Very easy. And this is going to be the paragraph number 2. And finally, paragraph number 3, which is going to be a homework guide because I'm going to be with you only until paragraph number 2, and this is your homework. Okay? So guys, let's start by knowing the noun words. We're going to learn these words. And the first one is decades. Decades means, what does it mean, guys? Décadas. Very easy. Now look at this verb, advise. Advise. Advice means aconsejar. Very easy. Look at this one. Stability. Stability. What do you think it is? Very similar to Spanish. Estabilidad. Look at this one. Raise. Raise. Formar. Criar. Educar. Levantar. Raise. Okay? And this one, the final word that we have. Believes. Believes mean creencias. Eso serían entonces las palabras desconocidas. Las podrían ser desconocidas para algunos de ustedes. So guys, I'm going to show you just here all these sentences because I want you to try to do them with me, and obviously you can compare your results. So let's start with this one. Hace algunos años. Try to write it down, please. So in that way, we're going to start this writing exercise like this. Some years ago. Remember that this word ago goes at the end, not at the beginning, because many people try to write this exercise or this sentence like this. Ago, some years, but it's not correct, okay? So, let's continue. No solía haber tantas profesiones como lo hay hoy en día. Okay, try to do it. No solía haber. How do we say that? We say there didn't used to be. There didn't used to be. No solía haber. Tantas profesiones. We say what? So many. Tantos, tantas. Professions. So many professions. Como lo hay hoy en día. Ese como lo, como la, como le. We write it with as. Como lo hay. As there are. As there are what? Nowadays. Hoy en día. Very easy so far, my friends. So many professions as there are nowadays. Let's continue. Mi abuelo, quien trabajó para el gobierno por más de 3 décadas, try to do it. Guys, in here we have a period, okay? And remember that this is also additional information after my grandfather. My grandfather. Let's continue. My grandfather. Now, comma. Because from here we have additional information and we have to use what? A relative pronoun. Because we want to say quien trabajó para el gobierno por más de 3 décadas. So we say here, who worked for the government. For over or for more. You can use both. For more than 3 décadas. Do you remember that word, guys? We say decades. Decades. And this is going to be the additional information that we have in the sentence. Let's continue. Solía aconsejarme que estudiara algo. Try to do it. Solía. Remember, guys, that in here we're talking about the grandfather because this is additional information, so we continue with this. Used to aconsejarme, we say advise. Remember that we saw before. To advise me que estudiara algo, we say here to study something. Very easy so far. Estudiara algo en lo cual pudiera tener estabilidad. Very easy. En lo cual we say what? In which. Quien pudiera tener yo. In which I could have stability. The word that we saw before, stability. So in which I could have stability. Let's continue. Y formar una familia de la misma manera que él lo hizo. ¿Sí? So we say here, and
formar, levantar, criar, and raise a family in the same way, en la misma manera o de la misma manera, in the same way, que lo hizo, that he did it, or you can also write, he did it. Okay? Very easy. Let's continue. Como mi abuelo, todavía hay muchas personas que piensan lo mismo. We're giving an example, guys. So, we're going to start with like. If you want to know the difference between like, as, and how, this is the video that you should watch, my friends. Okay? Like my grandfather, coma, todavía hay muchas personas que piensan lo mismo. Entonces, la tendencia acá es empezar con todavía, ¿sí? Pero vamos a empezar es con there are, my friends. So, orally, you can do it. But in a writing form, so it is much better to start like this. There are still, hay todavía. There are still many people, muchas personas que piensan lo mismo. We say what? We say who. Remember there's relative pronoun because we're talking about people who think the same. Look at this one. Porque fueron criados o levantados o educados bajo las mismas creencias. So, I'm going to continue. Como digo, porque? Remember that we have some other options to argue. So, this is going to be the option. For they were. Remember, guys, that this for means because too. Or you can also use since or because. There's no problem. For they were raised under the same beliefs, bajo las mismas creencias. Under the same beliefs. Where is this paragraph number 1? Muchachos, ¿cómo les fue? Espero que les haya ido muy bien en la escritura de este primer párrafo y que hayan podido verificar muchas cosas de las que hemos aprendido hasta ahora en el curso. Okay, so I'm going to erase the paragraph number 1 and then we continue with paragraph number 2. I'm going to be with you guys in a few seconds. So guys, we're going to start paragraph number 2 and these are the noun words that we have. And the first one is unless. Unless. What does it mean, guys? A menos que, unless. So write it down, please. Let's continue. Minds, mentes. Very easy, this word. Let's continue. Require. What does it mean, guys? Requerir. That's a verb. Require. Look at this one. Capable. Capaces. That's an adjective. Capable. Look at this one. Struggle. Luchar. That's a verb. O lucha también podría ser como sustantivo. Struggle. Luchar, esforzarse. Okay? Look at this one. Reach. Alcanzar. Reach. Very easy. So we're going to start, and this is the first sentence that we have of paragraph number 2. Estudiar es importante. Very easy. So let's do it, my friends. Estudiar es importante, we say. Studying is important. Pacho, ahí estás mal porque estás escribiendo estudiando es importante. No, this is not wrong, guys. The gerund that we have here represents a noun in this sentence. So if you're not sure about the 5 ways to work with the gerund or the ing, this is the class that you should watch because it's really complete, guys. So I recommend you to watch it first. Okay, let's continue. Estudiar es importante, pero no especialmente para conseguir un trabajo específico. Try to do it. But not specially to get a specific what? A specific job. Very easy. Look at this one. En el que puedas pasar el resto de tu vida. En el que puedas pasar o en el cual puedas pasar. Remember, guys. En which. En el que o en el cual puedas pasar. ¿Quién puedas pasar? Tú. In which you, remember these pronouns. They are very important, guys. In which you can pasar. Spend the rest of what? The rest of your life. Puedes pasar el resto de tu vida. Look at this. A menos que lo quieras así, o a menos que así lo quieras. Remember that you have those options. ¿Cómo es a menos? We saw that before. Unless you want it, unless you want it so, a menos que tú, unless you want it so, a menos que tú lo quieras así, o a menos que tú así lo quieras, or the other option that you have, unless you want it in that way. That's another option that we have. Okay, just period here. Let's continue. Estudiar le permite a la gente, try to do it, so we say here, studying what? Studying out loud. This is the verb, guys, but pay attention. When we have a gerund as a noun, this is always going to be singular. That's why we have singular here and singular here. How do we put this verb in singular form? Remember that we have to add the letter S at the end. Studying allows people. Le permite a la gente. Okay? Allows people what? Abrir sus mentes a un nuevo mundo. Abrir, guys. To open. Yes, to open. Allow people to open sus mentes, las mentes de ellos. Their minds to a new world. A un nuevo mundo. Very easy. Un mundo que requiere personas capaces. Try to do it, my friends. A world that requiere, muchachos, requires. Remember the letter S at the end of this verb, guys, because we're talking about a word, singular and third person. Okay, personas capaces. Requires capable people. Remember that the adjective goes first. Capable people. Personas capaces. Que compartan su conocimiento con otros, ¿ok? Que compartan, estamos hablando de personas capaces, you can say that or who as a relative pronoun, who share su conocimiento, we say their, su de ellos, their knowledge with others. Guys, if you don't remember very well the usage of others, the other, another, this is the class that you should watch, my friends. Okay? Let's continue. Y luchen por alcanzar sus sueños. Try to do it. And struggle, remember the verb that we saw before, and struggle, y luchen, o peleen, se esfuercen, and struggle, for, let me show you this, for reaching, yes, for reaching, or you can also say struggle to reach their dreams. Very easy. Guys, in here you have these two options because you can say and struggle for reaching or struggle to reach their dreams. That's going to be the paragraph number 2 and I hope you did it very well. Espero que lo hayan hecho muy bien, muchachos. Y que vaya ya puliendo esa parte de la escritura. Okay, now guys, these are going to be the noun words for the paragraph number 3 because I'm going to show you the paragraph and these are going to be the noun words for you to take into account. The first one is notably. Notably. What do you think notably means? Notablemente. Very easy. Look at this one. That's why. That's why. Es por eso. That's why. Okay? This one, needs, necesidades. Very easy. Look at this. Covered, Covered, aquí es un adjetivo, va a ser un caso de un adjetivo que significa cubiertas, ¿sí? Pero no cubiertas como de un barco ni nada de eso. Algunas necesidades que, ok, cubiertas. Look at this one. Appreciate, appreciate, apreciar, that's a verb. Muchachos, ¿cómo decimos consejos en plural? Remember, this is advice, consejo. Y consejos, advices. Advices is wrong. You cannot say advices unless you have an a third person singular subject, okay? But in this case, we don't say advices as a plural because we have to say pieces of advice. Pieces of advice sería consejos, porque la parte de consejos es algo incontable en inglés, okay? So, advice or pieces of advice, remember. And finally, this last word, outdated. Outdated, ¿sí? Update es actualizado, and outdated is desactualizado. Those are going to be the noun words that we have, guys. And this is the paragraph number 3 for you to write them down according to the noun words that we saw before. Okay? Ahí tienen las palabras desconocidas, pero que lo puedan escribir y que vayan y verifiquen los resultados a través de este enlace. Está muy fácil de acceder. También les voy a dejar ahí con los resultados el audio completo en inglés de toda esta escritura que tenemos hoy para que lo tengan en el celular y puedan practicar un poco más. So guys, I hope you like this class and don't forget to share this course and this lesson with many other people. Bye bye my friends and see you next class.